It's June 16th, 2018, and today's a pretty awesome day. If you've been watching some of the other videos that I've posted on YouTube, you'll know that I'm actually renting this house right now that I'm in southeastern North Carolina. That's why I'm container gardening, because I wasn't anticipating being here very long. I was anticipating buying my first house. So I've been on the market for a while, and I've decided it's a better deal to build a new house than it is to buy a used home with the current market conditions. So great news, I have a plot of land all secured about 4 blocks away, and I will more than likely have a new home that will be mine that I can move into by the end of the year. So this is like a really big deal for me, and suddenly everything that I'm doing right now has shifted. My goals have shifted, and I need to plan for the future because I actually know where I'm going to be years in the future for the first time ever. So moving forward, I am only going to be growing plants that I know I'll be able to keep for the long haul, and one of those plants are figs. Now, figs are kind of a love-hate fruit. You either love them or you hate them. I happen to love them, and I've always wanted a fig tree. Here in Zone 8 coastal southeastern North Carolina, figs do excellent. In the Northeast, they often die back. In southeastern North Carolina, here Zone 8, you can actually grow a fig tree. So with that in mind, I hit a couple of the big box stores, and what I noticed is, as you can imagine, big box stores tend to only carry the most typical varieties. Here in the southeast, they carry mostly Celeste and brown turkey figs. I didn't want to purchase a common variety fig. So Burpee.com had actually a great selection of online figs, and the 2 figs that I purchased are less common figs, but they're also not super rare. There is the Lattarula fig, which is often called the Italian Honey Fig. It's a green fig with a light pinkish center and a mild flavor that yields 2 crops. One Breba crop, which is a smaller crop in spring, and one larger crop in the fall, the main crop. This is a Violette de Bordeaux Fig. This is a very dark, syrupy style fig. So if I play my cards right and I do a good job with these plants, I will have a very nice green fig and a very nice dark mahogany fig, both of which perform very well in the southeast. Now these figs are pretty cool because they also grow very well in the northeast as well. They just tend to die back every single year, so you'll have to cut them down and they will re-emerge the next year. So here, being in the southeast, since I have the option of these growing into actual trees, you have to decide how you're going to prune your trees. So in the very beginning, how you shape your tree is how it's going to grow. Much like a tomato plant, if you chop your tree, you can choose how many stems they have, basically. You can either grow a fig bush if you let it grow out into all directions, as it will. You'll see right here, this is what it looks like. If you don't control the bottom here, it'll grow out in all directions and you'll have a massive fig bush. If you chop them all down here and leave a single stem, you can have this first stem go up a foot or 2, and then you can let it branch off, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn it into a tree with a canopy. That's my goal. But that's something that you would have to decide on your own. So I purchased these figs and from Burpee.com, and they have very mixed reviews. And the reason why is because at Home Depot you can buy a fig tree that's 4 feet tall for $11. And these are also, this was $15 on Burpee's site. This little guy was $10 on Burpee's site, plus shipping. So you're getting these little tiny figs, and people were actually upset because for $10, $12 they could get a massive tree from a big box store, and they're just getting these little tiny cuttings for more money online. Well, I just want to tell you, don't be one of these people, because figs are extremely vigorous growers. They will grow feet and feet and feet in one season. So it doesn't matter if you start out with these little trees or if you buy a bigger tree at a Home Depot, they're all probably going to fruit the next year. So you're not losing anything by ordering a custom cutting online. And since you're getting this nice little plant, it's easier and safer to ship, and there's less of a chance for damage. So with figs, buy yourself a smaller plant. Don't be a person that complains about the size of the fig that you get. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I want to show you the progress of these figs. So this Violette de Bordeaux Fig is 8 inches, and this Lattarula Italian Honey Fig is 4.5 inches. So I want to get a jump start on these so they're ready to go in the ground in my new house next year around March, April, whenever the last chance of frost is past. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim down this fig a little bit. Now, normally, this being the middle end of June, this is a terrible time to prune any kind of tree because the sap runs high and you put a lot of stress on the plant. So I am actually only going to take a little bit off, just the smallest branches. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. These are shears that I've washed. I'm only going to take a few off. Most of this pruning I will do later when the plant is bigger and able to handle the stress better. Alright, I don't want to take off any more than that. I'll just have to deal with it later. Same thing will go for this plant. This one I barely even feel comfortable pruning, it's so small. Alright, I'm not going to take off any more than that. It's just too big of a risk. So, what I did was I went to Home Depot and I bought 2 3-gallon containers, which I immediately went home and washed them with hot soapy water. And the reason why I did this is I've heard countless stories where containers that you buy, they ship in pallets of hundreds of them, and they ship with other bags of fertilizers and crushed stone, and they get covered in some kind of chemical or rock dust that damages trees. It'll just have some kind of mineral or chemical that'll inhibit growth. So always start out with a nice clean pot. And inside these pots is a mix of about 80% composted cow manure, which in this case is the Black Cow brand, and the other 25% is just Miracle Grow potting mix. So with fig trees, because they are such vigorous growers, you don't want to put fertilizer down slow release or quick release until the roots establish. So normally if you were to plant a tomato plant or a pepper plant or something, you dig your hole, you would fill it up with a slow release fertilizer and mix it in, and then you would water it in really well, and then a few days later you would hit it with a fast release fertilizer like a Miracle Grow or a fish emulsion. These figs are such vigorous growers that if you fertilize them, they will start taking off with new growth right away, which is actually bad because you want the roots to develop it. You want the roots to develop first. So just plant your figs in a well-draining, rich organic medium without any supplemental fertilizer, and let that go for a few weeks first, because the figs will recover from transplant shock and they'll grow their new roots in. So I filled these containers with a depth where if you set the fig on top of it, it'll be roughly, the smaller container will be roughly level with the top of this container, as you can see here. So I'm going to gently pull these figs out. You can see the root development. These roots look beautiful. I'm going to lightly, very lightly fluff the bottom to encourage them to grow down. Very lightly. You don't want to disturb tree roots to the degree that you would disturb a tomato or pepper root. Wow, these look really great. I was very impressed with Burpee.com's packaging. They came in a box that was secured with these little cutouts for the plants, and they couldn't move anywhere. It was some of the best packaging I've ever seen from a plant that I ordered online. Really recommend Burpee.com. Great quality. So now that I have them both planted in the median, I am just going to fill in around them. And inside this, I use this 20-gallon container to mix my composted cow manure with the potting mix. So you want to bury these trees to about the exact same level as what they are now. You don't want to bury them deeper, like in the case of a tomato plant. Bury them to the same level. Press them down firmly. And then you just want to water them in very well. So that watering will get them started, and then after that settles, I will water them again later. Now I'm going to put both of the figs over here in the shade. And the reason why I'm going to leave them over here in the shade is because they're going to go through a transplant shock phase. I don't want them to be in anything more than indirect sunlight. And the sun here in southeastern North Carolina is brutally strong. So I'm going to leave them there and water them regularly for about a week, in which case I will then start moving them into the sun, probably for another week, and give them morning sunlight. And then after 2 weeks, I'll probably just throw them out in the full sun, assuming I see growth. Once you actually see new leaf growth start to sprout, it more likely means that they have recovered from transplant shock and that the roots have come along really nicely. And at that point, you can probably give it some slow release and some quick release fertilizer. My understanding with figs is that they need nitrogen in the beginning, so I will more than likely feed them with a slow release organic 555 that I'll mix into the top of the soil, and then I'll probably hit it with fish emulsion after that. So we'll follow this along and we'll see where we're at towards the end of the summer. I have a feeling these 4.5 and 8-inch figs are going to get really big really fast, so I'll keep you updated. The goal is to have a really nice fig tree, well, 2 really nice fig trees by next March. So I'm just trying to get ahead of schedule. If this video, if you found it helpful, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, share the videos. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody.